We canceled our daughter's dream wedding to bail our son out of jail. 3 years later, she's moved across the country and wants nothing to do with us. There are moments in parenting that you replay for the rest of your life. Moments where you made a choice, the wrong choice you'll eventually realize, and the consequences of that choice echo through every conversation, every holiday, every family photograph where someone is missing. For us, that moment came on a Thursday afternoon in June, when the phone rang and everything we thought we knew about being good parents shattered. I'm Diane. I'm 56 and I've been married to my husband Mark for 34 years. We have 2 children, Emily, who is 28, and Kyle, who is 25. We live in a suburb outside Columbus, Ohio, in the same house we bought when Mark got promoted at the manufacturing plant 20 years ago. We're not rich, but we're comfortable. We worked hard, saved carefully, and thought we'd raised our children right. Emily was our planner. From the time she was a little girl, she had notebooks filled with lists, birthday party guest lists, summer reading lists, lists of colleges she wanted to visit. She got straight A's, was student council president, and graduated 3rd in her high school class. She put herself through Ohio State with a combination of scholarships and waitressing jobs, never once asking us for help even when we offered. She met David during her junior year. He was a civil engineering major, steady and kind, with a calmness that balanced Emily's intensity. They dated for 4 years before he proposed, and Emily called me crying, happy crying, the night it happened. Mom, he asked. He asked and I said yes. I cried too. I'd been waiting for this moment since she was a little girl, planning her imaginary wedding in her notebooks. The wedding was planned for June. A garden ceremony at a vineyard an hour outside Columbus, followed by a reception with a live band and farm-to-table catering. Emily had been planning it for 18 months. Every detail was perfect, the flowers, the dress, the seating chart that took her 3 months to finalize. She'd invited 180 people. She'd spent hours on the phone with vendors negotiating prices, making sure everything was exactly right. I want this to be perfect, Mom, she told me, showing me the centerpieces she designed. David and I have worked so hard. This is our day. Our fresh start. I was proud of her. I was proud of the woman she'd become. Organized, determined, someone who knew what she wanted and wasn't afraid to work for it. Then there was Kyle. If Emily was our planner, Kyle was our wildfire. He was brilliant, genuinely brilliant, with an IQ that tested in the 99th percentile when he was in elementary school. But he'd always struggled. ADHD, then anxiety, then depression, then a string of diagnoses that seemed to change every time we saw a new doctor. He dropped out of high school junior year, got his GED, tried community college, dropped out again. He bounced between jobs, retail, food service, construction, never staying anywhere longer than 6 months. We'd been bailing Kyle out his whole life. Literally, sometimes when he'd lock his keys in his car or forget to pay his electric bill. But we loved him. He was our son. And we believed desperately that he just needed more time. More support. More chances. The call came 3 weeks before Emily's wedding. It was a Thursday late afternoon. Mark was at work. I was at home going over the final details for the rehearsal dinner, when my phone rang. The caller ID showed Kyle's name. Hey honey. What's up? Mom. His voice was strange. Flat. I need you to come get me. Where are you? Franklin County Jail. The words didn't make sense at first. I asked him to repeat them, and when he did, the room seemed to tilt. What happened? Kyle, what happened? He told me. He'd been at a bar with some friends. There'd been a fight. Someone had thrown a punch, Kyle had thrown one back, and by the time the police arrived, there was broken glass and blood and a man on the ground with a concussion. He started it, Mom. He was drunk, he was yelling at my friend, and I couldn't let him. Kyle, stop. Just tell me what they're saying. What are you being charged with? He didn't know. Or he wouldn't say. He just kept repeating that he needed me to come get him, that he couldn't stay there, that the walls were closing in. Called Mark. He left work immediately, and we drove to the jail together in silence. The next hours were a blur. Paperwork. Phone calls. A bail hearing scheduled for the next morning. The judge set bail at $25,000, more than we had in our checking account, more than we had in savings, more than we could access without selling something or borrowing. $25,000. We didn't have $25,000. But we had something. We had the wedding fund. The money we'd been setting aside for months, our contribution to Emily's perfect day. I looked at Mark across the sterile waiting room. I could see in his eyes that he was thinking the same thing I was. Emily's wedding, I whispered. I know. Kyle needs us. He's in jail, Mark. Our son is in jail. We could borrow from somewhere else. A loan, maybe. With what credit? We're still paying off the roof. The car. We can't get approved for $25,000. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. We both knew what the conversation was really about. The bail was paid the next morning. Not with a loan, not with credit cards, but with the money we'd saved for our daughter's wedding. $25,000. Every cent. We told ourselves it was temporary. We'd figure something out. We'd find a way to replace the money before the wedding. There was still time. 3 weeks. We could make it work. We were lying to ourselves and we knew it. Kyle came home with us that afternoon. He was pale and shaky, reeking of the jail's industrial cleaner, and he cried in the car the whole way back. I'm sorry, he kept saying. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I held his hand from the passenger seat while Mark drove. It's okay. You're home now. We'll figure it out. We didn't tell him where the money came from. We didn't want him to feel worse than he already did. The next few days were chaos. Kyle needed a lawyer. That was another $5,000 we didn't have. He needed to find a job, needed to stay out of trouble, needed to be supervised because his bail conditions included no alcohol and no contact with the people involved in the fight. He was scared and fragile, and every time I looked at him, I saw the little boy who used to crawl into my bed after nightmares, trembling and small. Emily called every day. She was in the final stretch of wedding planning, her voice bright with excitement. Mom, the florist confirmed the peonies. They're going to be perfect. Mom, David's mom is bringing her famous lemon bars to the rehearsal dinner. Can you believe it? Mom, the final head count is 176. Can you believe we're really doing this? I smiled. I agreed. I told her everything was wonderful. And I didn't tell her that the money we'd promised for the venue deposit hadn't been transferred yet. Or that the check I'd written for the caterer was sitting on my desk, unsigned because the account was empty. I thought we'd figure it out. I kept thinking we'd figure it out. 2 weeks before the wedding, Mark and I sat down at the kitchen table with our bank statements and calculators. We added up everything we had, checking, savings, the small retirement account we weren't supposed to touch. We subtracted the bail, the lawyer, the mounting bills. Then we looked at what was left. Nothing. Less than nothing. The venue deposit was due in 4 days. The caterer's final payment was due the day before the wedding. The band, the photographer, the rentals, all of them needed to be paid before they would show up. We couldn't do it. We'd known it for days, maybe weeks, but sitting at that table, seeing the numbers in black and white made it real. We have to tell her, Mark said. I know. We can't let her find out from the vendors when they don't show up. I know. We sat there holding hands across the table, and I felt something inside me crack. The wedding. Her perfect day. The thing she'd been planning since she was a little girl with notebooks full of lists. We were going to take it away from her. We called Emily that evening. I wanted to do it in person, but she was an hour away at her apartment, and I couldn't wait another day. I couldn't carry the secret any longer. Hey, Mom. Her voice was bright. I was just about to call you. The dress alterations are done, and it's absolutely perfect. I can't wait for you to see it. Honey, we need to talk about something. What's wrong? I told her. Not the whole story. I couldn't bring myself to say the words about Kyle, but enough. I told her there had been a financial emergency, that the money we'd promised for the wedding wasn't there, that we couldn't cover the remaining deposits. She was quiet for a long time. Emily? Are you there? Where's the money, Mom? What? You said there was a financial emergency. What happened? Did someone get sick? Did something happen to the house? I hesitated. And in that hesitation I lost the chance to control the story. It's Kyle, I said finally. He got into some trouble. He needed a lawyer. We had to pay his bail. The silence that followed was different. Not confused. Cold. You used my wedding money to bail Kyle out of jail. We didn't have a choice. He was in trouble, Emily. Serious trouble. We couldn't leave him there. You had a choice. You had a choice and you chose him. Again. It's not like that. We love you both. We didn't want to. You didn't want to what? Tell me the truth? Let me know that my brother's problems were more important than my wedding? Than the thing I've been planning for 18 months? Than the day that was supposed to be about me and David? Her voice was rising now. I'd heard this tone before. The controlled fury of someone who'd been dismissed, overlooked, pushed aside one too many times. Emily, please. We'll figure something out. We can postpone the wedding, just until we get the money together. No. What? I'm not postponing my wedding. I'm not moving my wedding because Kyle got himself arrested. I'm done. I'm done being second place to my brother's disasters. Emily, you're not second place. Yes, I am. I always have been. Every time Kyle messed up, you dropped everything to fix it. Every time I needed you, you were too busy with Kyle. I got myself through college. I paid for my own apartment. I built my own life. And the one time I asked you for something, the one thing I've ever asked you to help with, you gave it to him. She was crying now. I was crying too. We're sorry. We're so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry doesn't give me back my wedding. She hung up. I called her back immediately. She didn't answer. I called again. And again. Finally I texted. Please, honey. Let's talk about this. We can figure something out. She replied 3 hours later. Don't worry about it. David and I will figure it out. We don't need your money. That was the last text I received from her for a long time. The days that followed were a nightmare. Emily didn't call. She didn't text. She didn't respond to any of my messages. I called David, hoping he could mediate, and he was polite but distant. Diane, I'm not going to take sides. But Emily is really hurt. She feels like you chose Kyle over her. Again. We didn't choose anyone. We were trying to help our son. I understand. But you had 18 months to save for the wedding. You knew Kyle was struggling. You knew this might happen. And you didn't plan for it. You didn't tell Emily the money was at risk. You let her plan her entire wedding on the assumption that you would be there for her. He was right. I knew he was right. But hearing it from someone else made it real in a way I couldn't ignore. We're going to figure something out, I said. We'll find the money. We'll make it work. Don't. Emily and I talked. We're canceling the wedding. The words hit me like a physical blow. What? We can't afford to pay for everything ourselves. My parents are helping but not enough to cover what you promised. And we don't want to start our marriage in debt. So we're canceling. Postponing. Whatever you want to call it. David, please. I'm sorry, Diane. I really am. But this is Emily's decision. And after everything that's happened, I'm not going to talk her out of it. He hung up. I sat in my kitchen for hours staring at nothing. The wedding invitations were on the fridge, the ones Emily had sent us months ago, with the date and the time and the directions to the vineyard. I'd been so proud of them. So excited. Now they were just paper. Mark came home from work and found me there. She canceled it, I said. She canceled the whole thing. He sat down beside me, took my hand. We'll fix this. We'll find a way. There's no way to fix this. We broke her, Mark. We broke our daughter. He didn't have an answer. Neither did I. The cancellation started immediately. Emily sent out emails to the vendors we found out later through the grapevine. She called the venue, the caterer, the band, the photographer. She explained that the wedding was off. She lost the deposit she'd paid herself, thousands of dollars she'd saved from her waitressing job, money she'd been putting aside for years. She didn't tell us any of this. We heard it from David's mother, who called to ask what had happened. I'm not judging, she said, her voice careful. I'm just trying to understand. David and Emily were so happy. They were so excited. And now she's withdrawn from everyone. She's not answering calls. She's barely eating. David is worried sick about her. I wanted to explain. I wanted to tell her about Kyle, about the bail, about the impossible choice we'd made. But the words stuck in my throat. Tell David we're sorry, I managed. Tell them both we're sorry. I will. But Diane, I think you need to hear something. Emily told David that she's done. She said she's spent her whole life being second to Kyle, and she's not going to do it anymore. She's not going to be the daughter who gets forgotten while you save your son from his own choices. I never forgot her. I know. But she doesn't believe that. And I think you need to understand why. We hung up. I sat in my kitchen, the wedding invitation still on the fridge, and wondered how we'd gotten here. How two parents who loved their children equally could have raised a daughter who felt so invisible. Kyle didn't understand what had happened. Not at first. "Where's Emily?" he asked a few days after David's call. "I've been calling her. She's not answering." "She's upset, honey." "About the wedding." "What about the wedding?" I told him. The words came out in a rush. The bail money, the canceled vendors, the wedding that wasn't happening. I watched his face change from confusion to horror to something that looked like guilt. "Mom." "No. You used Emily's wedding money?" "For me. We didn't have a choice." "Yes, you did. You had a choice. And you chose me. Again. You always choose me." He stood up from the couch, pacing, his hands shaking. "Kyle. How many times has she been second? How many birthdays did you miss because I was in trouble? How many recitals? How many parent-teacher conferences? I was the one who needed everything, and she was the one who needed nothing, so you gave everything to me and nothing to her." "That's not true." "It is true. It's always been true. And I let it happen because it was easier than being alone. Because I knew you'd always be there to catch me. But this, Mom, this was her wedding. The one thing she asked for. And you took it away to bail me out of something I did to myself." He was crying now, tears running down his face, and I didn't know how to comfort him. I didn't know if I was allowed to. "I'm going to pay it back," he said. "Every penny. I don't know how, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to fix this." He stormed out of the house. I didn't see him again for 3 days. The wedding date came and went. June 15th. I woke up that morning knowing exactly what day it was. Knowing that somewhere, Emily was waking up too. Knowing what should have been happening. Mark and I didn't talk about it. We went through the motions, coffee, breakfast, the morning news. At noon, I went into the backyard and sat on the swing Mark had built me years ago, and I let myself imagine it. The garden. The flowers. The dress. Emily walking down the aisle on Mark's arm, her face bright with joy. I sat there until the sun went down. A week later we got the news from David's mother. Emily and David had eloped. They'd driven to the courthouse in Cincinnati, said their vows in front of a judge, and celebrated with dinner at a diner off the highway. "It's what she wanted," David's mother said. "No fuss. No family. Just them. No family." The words echoed in my head for days. We sent a gift. A check for what we could afford. Not the thousands we'd promised, but something. Emily returned it, uncashed, with a note that said, "We don't need your money." She didn't sign it. There was no love, Emily. Just those 5 words typed on a piece of paper, as cold and final as a door closing. Kyle got a job. A real one at a warehouse on the south side of Columbus. He worked 12-hour shifts loading trucks, coming home exhausted and covered in dust. He gave me an envelope at the end of his first month, $300 in crumpled bills. "For the bail," he said. "It's not much. But it's a start." I tried to refuse. He wouldn't let me. "I'm paying this back. Every cent. And when I do, maybe Emily will talk to me again." I didn't tell him that Emily wasn't talking to any of us. That she blocked our numbers, filtered our emails, moved her mail to a post office box we didn't have the address for. That David had stopped answering our calls too. I didn't tell him because I didn't want to break what was left of him. 3 months after the wedding that wasn't, we got the news from David's mother again. Emily and David had moved cross-country to Oregon. David had found a job with an engineering firm in Portland, and Emily was working remotely for a tech company. "She says she likes it there," David's mother said. "The mountains. The ocean. It's beautiful." "Does she talk about us?" A pause. "She doesn't talk about Ohio at all." I asked David's mother to give Emily our new address. We hadn't moved, but I wanted her to know we were still here, still waiting. She promised she would, but I don't know if she did. I don't know if Emily would have read the message if she had. Months passed. The holidays came. Thanksgiving was the first one without Emily. We set the table anyway for places even though we knew one would be empty. Kyle came, quiet and subdued, and we ate turkey and pretended everything was normal. "What did you get Emily for Christmas?" Kyle asked, and I saw the hope in his eyes, that maybe this year would be different, that maybe she'd come home. "We sent her something," I said. "A care package. Some things from home." I didn't tell him that we didn't know if she'd received it. That we'd sent it to David's parents' address, hoping they'd forward it. That we hadn't heard anything back. Christmas morning I checked my phone every hour, waiting for a call that didn't come. Around noon Mark took my hand. "She's not going to call." "I know. Maybe next year." I nodded, but I didn't believe it. Something told me that next year would be the same. And the year after that. And the year after that. Kyle moved out in the spring. He'd saved enough for a security deposit on a small apartment, and he was working full-time at the warehouse, going to community college part-time. He was trying. For the first time in his life he was really trying. "Maybe if I get my act together," he said, "Emily will come back." I didn't have the heart to tell him that Emily wasn't coming back. That the distance between us wasn't measured in miles. It was measured in years of choices, years of neglect, years of making her feel like she didn't matter. We'd chosen Kyle. Again and again we'd chosen Kyle. And one day, Emily had stopped waiting to be chosen. It's been 3 years since the wedding, that. 3 years of silence. 3 years of holidays without her. 3 years of watching the door, waiting for it to open, knowing it never will. Kyle is different now. The warehouse job turned into a management position. He finished his associate's degree and is working on his bachelor's online. He's dating someone. A quiet woman named Rachel who works at the library. He's stable. He's sober. He's the son I always knew he could be. He sends Emily letters. Once a month without fail. He doesn't know if she reads them. He doesn't know if she's even receiving them. But he sends them anyway because he's trying to make amends. I found one of his drafts once, open on his laptop when I was watering his plants while he was at work. "Emily, I know you don't want to hear from me. I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from. But I need you to know that I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything. For being the reason Mom and Dad couldn't help with your wedding. For being the reason you felt invisible. For taking all the oxygen in the room and never realizing that you were suffocating. I'm different now. Not perfect, I'll never be perfect, but different. I'm working. I'm in school. I'm paying back the money I took. It's not enough. It will never be enough to make up for what you lost. But it's something. I miss you. I miss my sister. And I'll wait as long as it takes for you to be ready to talk. Your brother. Kyle." I cried reading that. Cried for the son who was finally becoming the man he should have been. Cried for the daughter who would never know. Mark and I have tried to reach out. Cards on her birthday. Flowers on her anniversary. A letter once that took me 3 months to write, explaining that we were sorry, that we'd been wrong, that we'd do anything to make it right. She never responded. David's mother calls us sometimes, keeping us updated on the life we're not part of. Emily and David bought a house. Emily got a promotion. They're talking about having kids. She's happy, David's mother says. I think that's the important thing. She's happy. Without us. I think about that a lot. About how we spent so many years focused on Kyle's happiness, his stability, his survival, that we forgot Emily's happiness mattered too. We told ourselves she was strong. That she didn't need us the way Kyle did. That she'd understand eventually that we were doing what we had to do. But strength isn't the absence of need. It's the ability to keep going even when no one is there to catch you. And Emily had been catching herself her whole life. The question that haunts us, the one that keeps me up at night, is simple. Were we wrong to cancel her wedding to bail out our son? I've asked myself that question 1,000 times. And every time the answer is the same. We weren't wrong to help Kyle. He was in trouble. He needed us. That's what parents do. We were wrong to let Emily believe that her needs would always come second. We were wrong to take her for granted, to assume she'd understand, to never once ask her what she needed from us. We were wrong to make her feel invisible in her own family. And we were wrong to let it go on so long that the only way she could be seen was to disappear. Kyle paid back the bail money. Every cent. He gave me the final payment last month. A cashier's check for $2,300, the last of what he owed. He was shaking when he handed it over. I'm going to send it to her. he said. I know she won't cash it. But I need her to know I kept my promise. I hugged him. Held him like I used to when he was small and scared and needed someone to catch him. She'll come back someday, I said. He pulled away, looked at me with eyes that had seen too much. Will she, Mom? Would you? I didn't have an answer. We sent the check to David's parents, with a note explaining what it was. A few weeks later, David's mother called. Emily cashed it, she said, and I could hear the surprise in her voice. She said to tell Kyle she got it. That was all. No forgiveness. No invitation to visit. Just acknowledgement that the money had been received. But it was something. A crack of light in 3 years of darkness. Maybe that's what healing looks like. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation. Not the happy ending we're all hoping for. Just a crack. A small opening. A chance that someday, somehow the door might open. I don't know if Emily will ever come back. I don't know if she'll ever forgive us. I don't know if she'll let us meet her children if she has them, or if she'll tell them about the grandparents in Ohio who chose wrong. But I know we'll keep waiting. We'll keep the door open. We'll keep sending cards on her birthday, even if they come back unopened. We'll keep loving her, even if she never loves us back. Because that's what parents do. Even when they get it wrong. Even when it's too late to make it right. We chose wrong. We chose Kyle when we should have found a way to choose both. We let our daughter believe she didn't matter, and now she's gone. But I still believe in second chances. I still believe that families can heal even from wounds this deep. I still believe that someday Emily will come home. Until then we wait. We hope. We try to be better. And we never stop loving her. Which side of that story were you on? Let me know in the comments. And if you love diving into these Reddit rabbit holes with me, subscribe to Reddit Be Mine. We're building the best storytelling community on YouTube, and we'd love to have you. Click that sub button and stay tuned.